That's the hit.
Okay, calling the meeting to order of the Kingston Springs Regional Planning Commission for December 9th. And we will start with a roll call of voting members. Keith Allgood is absent. Tony Campbell?
Here.
Tony Gross?
Here.
Mike Hargis?
Here.
Lauren Hill?
Here.
Brian McCain is absent. And Keith Allgood is here.
Absent.
Keith Allgood's here. Brian McCain is absent. Mike Patino, that's me, I'm here. Chuck Slater?
Here.
Todd Verhoeven?
Here.
Okay, and the non-voting staff, Sharon Armstrong?
Here.
John Lawless?
Here.
Martha Brooke Perry?
Here.
And Brittany Stanley is not here. Okay. So we have a quorum. And you have before you the minutes of the October 14th Planning Commission.
Move to approve.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved. And you also have before you the meeting agenda for today, December 9th. We have a motion to approve them.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes, the agenda is approved. So we are at the community input part. Is there anybody here that wants to address the Planning Commission? Okay, so community input is closed, open and closed. Now we will move to the next item, old business. And the first item of old business is establish PUD agreement items for the McPherson PUD agreement, 115 East Kingston Springs Road adjacent to the Stuff It In Storage and Sonic at the intersection of East Kingston Springs Road and Liven Hills. Item to include the following 5 things: final development plans, design elements, project timeline, Downs easement, and then a bonding agreement for utilities, roads, lighting, soil and erosion, open space, and community facilities. Are you not finding it?
No, I don't have.
You don't have the agenda?
I can't find it. Maybe that's why I need to retire.
It's not. Go ahead, go to page 2. Oh, it's missing.
Thank you.
All right, so Sharon, are you going to address this item? Okay.
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the Planning Commission is aware, we have approved the final development plan and layout for this project some time ago. So this is simply to inform you what will be contained within the PUD agreement, the same way that we did for the last one that we just completed. You're the recommending body. So what I'm asking for is you to approve inclusion of the final development plan that you approved in the May meeting in the PUD agreement. Design element, we do have one hiccup. I guess all of you are aware of supply chain issues right now. One of them is affecting this project. Mr. McPherson brought to the meeting, the Design Review Committee, and to the Planning Commission, Allen Block for the retaining walls. As you know, it's a structural wall member. It's a name brand, Allen Block. Those are no longer available in this part of the country. Mr. McPherson sent to me the tech sheets and spec sheets for Ridge Rock. It's very similar in color, exactly the same density, exactly the same strength. So I would like permission to include that in the design element list for the project, substituting Ridge Rock for Allen Block. There is no discernible color difference, strength difference, or ability to retain difference between the 2 products. They simply, one is a slightly different color. It looks almost identical to it on its face, but the Allen Block is no longer available here.
So we need to approve a different retaining wall block, a different brand of retaining wall block.
We approved the Allen Block based on its strength and integrity rather than its color, but I just wanted you to know that there would be a change. If you observe in your minutes, you see Allen Block, they're no longer available in this area, so it would be Ridge Rock instead. And then the project timeline, the standard for the PUD is 2 years with a 1-year extension if necessary, if something unforeseen, supply chain issues, weather comes up. So I would like to set it at 2 years because that is standard. Mr. McPherson and I have spoken. He expresses that he thinks 18 months is going to be, he's going to start in May. So the clock will start ticking in May. for his 2 years, and then if he finds it necessary, but for whatever reason, then he would have to come back to this body to seek approval to extend it. And then the last thing is the bonding agreement. Mr. McPherson and I have had a couple of conversations, and I've spoken to his engineering firm. It is customary for the engineering firm to calculate the bond needs, much as they did for Ellerslie and for the golf club project of DBI for the soil erosion. Mr. McPherson has expressed that his engineering firm does not have that capability. As the Planning Commission is aware, when the bond amounts were submitted for Ellerslie and for the golf club, I checked them. There's a standard Middle Tennessee calculation form that we use with the prices in them. They update them once every 3 weeks, so they're pretty standard and pretty current. And I will speak to his engineers to make sure they understand what we're looking for is a performance bond, not a surety bond, not a letter of credit. Performance bond. So that's the easiest document and type of bond surety for us to deal with as a city. So I'll speak with them and make sure that's in. The calculation for that sector, I think for the 40 units, is probably going to run somewhere north of $450, because it's a much more expensive lot than the Ellerslie sub, which came in at $390 with 37 units. This is 40 units, but it's on a substantially larger lot. So it may fall within that range somewhere, but the next time you see the PUD agreement, all of these elements will be included in it. Okay. The last item I would like to discuss, Ms. Downs has visited with us several occasions. I've explained to Mr. McPherson that her easement lies within his road. It is not a separate entrance, it's not a separate easement. We can only have one attachment to TDOT's road. That's what they allow. So I've explained that to him. I've also explained to him that as he does that, he cannot cut off her access to her property as he's grading, and he has agreed to that. So the Downs easement, the document itself, will become a part of the PUD as well. It's been approved previously by the Planning Commission. And unless you have questions, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Does anybody have any questions on this item?
I want to commend Mr. McPherson and the planner for bringing this all together finally. And hopefully things are going to go smooth.
Did you have any other questions, Mr. McPherson? Okay.
And if we could, Mr. Chairman, if we could deal with the Ridge Rock for Allen Block question first, that you're finding that to be acceptable, because it is in the minutes listed specifically as a name brand.
Okay. So in this, now are we recommending approval? Is that what we're recommending at this point?
Yes, to the City Commission.
To the City Commission. Can we say we recommend approval with the substitution of Ridge Rock for Allen Block in the design elements?
Yes.
The only thing, I'd like to keep both of them open, because someone may come back with another bid.
I see what you're saying.
What if we just make it
Yeah.
That Ridge Rock is an
Rock that
acceptable
meets
substitute
that.
for Allen Block, and either
That
can be
meets the
used.
minimum that they have already established for
Right.
If there's
the
a
rock
third.
that's going to be used, and the color should be similar.
And
there's a third one.
Martha Brooks brought up that point as well. We could express it as Allen Block or other suitable interchangeable material. Will that work? Okay.
Sounds good to
Okay.
me.
Good.
Suitable like interchangeable material.
That meets.
And that way, if there's a supply chain issue on
It needs to meet the same.
the new one, then it can be.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not
So
stuck
moved.
with
Approving it based on
Ridge
its
That would also
structural
be-
integrity.
I'm sorry, then that, yeah, if the,
That
the
opens
new,
it to any
if the new
other
material
substitution,
also
not just
becomes
redraw.
unavailable, so long as he brings in something that is
He would
like,
still have to, we
They have to
still
be
have to
comparable.
ensure the strength and the appearance, et cetera.
That's correct.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so all in favor of recommending this to the City Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
your
That's-
motion was recommending this to the city commission, the change on the materials. That's what we're
Correct.
voting on, correct? It's
Just to
not,
change.
Oh, I thought it was,
Material.
so was this just an update on the PUD that we don't have
It is.
any
It's
action
an update
required
on one of
on?
the elements that
Okay,
goes
so
into
all
the
we're
budget.
voting on is the change in materials.
We're going
right,
to change
right.
that, and then we're going
So-
to deal with the list.
Right, so
Okay.
if we could, since you all just voted, we need to do a motion to reconsider, following Robert's rules, motion to reconsider the prior motion so that we can go back and clean it up to what it needed to be.
Can I have a
So,
motion to reconsider the prior motion?
So moved.
Okay.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
So now we are reconsidering.
Yeah, now you're reconsidering, so then you would say that your motion should be amended to approve the use of,
Allen block for the retaining wall material or
Like materials.
like material of
That meets the
same
spec?
structural.
Subject to
specs.
staff approval.
That's correct.
Okay.
all right.
So that is the motion.
We have a second?
I'm not making the motion. So that is what.
So
I'll
moved.
make the motion.
You make the motion, do you have a second? Okay. And all,
Got a your second?
yes. Lauren?
I think we had,
No, she moved it.
she moved it,
I
so
moved.
Tony is the
Tony
second.
Tony second.
I'll
Okay,
second it.
Tony's the
Okay,
second.
now call.
Okay.
There we go.
All
Now
in
we'll do
favor?
it.
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Okay. So the motion passes for the design element change, Allen block or like materials, subject to staff approval. Okay.
Do you need the middle one?
Now we need a motion for the PUD agreement to contain the 5 elements that are listed.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. Any questions on this motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. We are now moving on to the second item under old business, the updated site plan for the Golf Club of Tennessee. We have some big maps on the table. Items include Enterprise Solutions LLC underground electrical main trunk line service. It also includes floodplain development requirements and bonding agreement and future phases. Those are the 4 items. So, Sharon, are you going to?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You have some large documents in front of you. There's some smaller versions in your packet. The Golf Club of Tennessee has undertaken a project beginning at the gate entry to the Golf Club of Tennessee to install underground electric from that location. And you can see, may I approach?
Sure.
Thank you, sir. I think you have a slightly larger version of this on the table. This one's a little easier for everybody to see, I think. We've got large versions. So, I'm going to use this as my reference, if I might. All right. Beginning here at the gated entry, which is on the left of your particular drawing, and going for a distance to this point, which is where the bridge is. 25 feet setback from the bridge that overspans the creek. And then from here to here, this is underground, buried.
Okay.
Dixon Electric has established the criteria for the parks, the conduit, and all of that. Our buy-in from this particular project is, one, to make sure we're maintaining our floodplain development compliance, and secondarily, we have a land disturbing activity ordinance, so once you stick a shovel in the ground, you have to get a permit and approval to go forward. So the developer, contractor, and the Golf Club of Tennessee have submitted this site plan because anytime you change something on a site plan, it has to come back to the Planning Commission for approval. So all of the overhead will be removed, underground will go in. Dixon Electric provided all of the requirements for the installation. We are requiring that they stop 25 feet from the bridge on one side, pick up 25 feet from the bridge on the other side to observe the flood ordinance, and then
Sharon, can
continue
you kind
on
of
and
lean
stop.
back this
No,
way
I'm
a
sorry.
little bit so we can
So,
also see?
again, for your edification, it starts here, runs to a distance here where the first pull box is. It stops 25 feet from this creek. Then it's run along the side of the bridge, which is elevated here. Picks up 25 feet from the other side of the bridge because this is our flood area. So it's elevated above the flood, and then it picks up from here and runs down to its terminus point here. Okay? You're quite welcome. The blue lined area on your drawing is the flood area. So, now that we have a framework for reference, a couple of things had to be done. One was the site plan for you to consider tonight, whether or not the update will be allowed. I would hazard a guess that it's a really good idea. Underground survives better during a storm than over in almost every case. The second thing for your consideration is the flood development ordinance. We have required that they complete an application, a floodplain development permit application, which will be reviewed by staff signed off on by your floodplain administrator, the city manager, and placed in the file, so there's never a question that we followed the rules for the flood ordinance. Third, till we got the answer of whether it would be underground all the way or above ground for a portion of it, we needed floodproofing requirements. We're still floodproofing all of the elements of the boxes, the conduit, and the line. So we had that discussion in a meeting this afternoon. They were very helpful in providing the information to update that.
And how does the conduit get from one side of the bridge to the other? Is it-
They're not. That conduit will go along the side of the bridge, but
Along
the
the side of the
entire
bridge.
thing
Okay.
will be sleeved and conduit
Okay.
all the way through. Duct seal will be used. There is a water impenetrable material that will be painted on the inside of the pole boxes. All of that will be inspected by Dixon Electric. I will request that to go with them when they do their inspection so we can make sure the flood stuff is done. So our ordinance gets done, I'll take pictures and stick those in the file as well. But all of it, to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, will be floodproofed and sealed. All underground cable, whether it's in a flood area or not, requires sealing from water. The additional requirement from FEMA is that it be able to resist the flow of water. So by raising it out of the ground, staying away from the bank, and across the bridge, it helps to reduce the load and pressure from the water on those lines. It'll have the bridge as a backing rather than going through the ground underneath. So all of the requirements that we had have been satisfied. Future phases, I had a discussion with him. There was some initial discussion that this would proceed. It will go to the edge of the property for the parcels next door, but they will stop at that point. There will be no additional work that goes across the parcel line to the adjacent property. So all of that has been reduced into the permit. The requirements have been met this afternoon with the exception of the exhibit where they will detail lifting the line out of the water here and here, and I will staff review that.
Okay, so what is it we're accepting and recommending these elements?
For the planning commission, your sole activity tonight is to approve the change to the site plan.
Okay.
You are provided with a limited gauge
Right,
site plan.
Okay. All right.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Okay, you got the second, John?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions or further? Yes, sir?
I need to recuse myself from this vote. I'm a member of the golf club.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any other questions before we vote on this? No? Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and Mike was recused. All right, so I don't see any other business on the agenda. Does that mean we're finished?
Other than, I think all of us as staff would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. Yeah, we do. Merry Christmas. And to everybody out there. Okay, meeting adjourned.